Ben gently rubbed Luke's shoulder. Luke, time to get ready for therapy. Luke groaned softly, still half asleep. Fine, but I still don't understand why I have to go. I just want all that my family did to me to stop replaying in my head. Ben sighed, keeping his voice calm and steady. Therapy isn't a punishment. It's not because you're bad or broken. It's to help you unpack what happened. What they did to you wasn't okay. Luke stared at the ceiling. They put David in a group home for his crap. They can do the same thing for me, just send me away. Ben shook his head firmly. No, you are not being sent away. David needed supervision because of his behavior. You need support because you were hurt. That's different. Luke turned his head away. Fine, just change me. Ben gave a soft smile. Okay, buddy, let's get you cleaned up. Ben moved gently, carefully helping Luke out of bed. Luke felt small in moments like this, vulnerable, but Ben never rushed him. He kept his movements steady, respectful, and quiet. You're safe, Ben reminded him. This isn't about control, it's about helping you feel stronger. Luke whispered, I don't feel strong. You don't have to right now, Ben replied. That's why we're going. After getting Luke dressed comfortably, Ben helped him into his wheelchair. Luke looked down at his hands. What if the therapist thinks I'm stupid? Ben crouched to eye level. The therapist's job is to listen, not judge, just like when we talked about what happened with David. People who hurt others have consequences. People who were hurt get help. Luke swallowed hard. What if talking makes it worse? Sometimes it feels worse before it feels better, Ben admitted, but you won't be alone in it. Luke nodded slowly. Before heading out, Ben placed a reassuring hand on Luke's shoulder. You're not being exploited, you're not being punished, you're healing. Luke took a shaky breath. Okay, I'll try. And for the first time that morning, Ben saw something small but important in Luke's eyes. Not fear. Hope. Ben pushed Luke's wheelchair slowly down the sidewalk toward the car. The morning air was cool, quiet, the kind of quiet that made thoughts louder. Ben broke it gently. You might not like me right now, but I did this for you. Luke stared ahead. I know that now, but back then I felt safe. Ben nodded. I get that. When you've been through chaos, even unhealthy things can feel safe because they're familiar. Luke didn't answer. After a moment, Ben added carefully, by the way, your uncle wants to talk with you when we get back. Luke's jaw tightened. And what did he say? He just wants to understand, Ben said. He asked why you didn't say anything for years. Luke's hands curled slightly in his lap. Because I wanted to. Ben didn't react harshly, he just kept his tone steady. You wanted to stay quiet. Luke's voice cracked a little. If I didn't say anything, nothing would change. If nothing changed, I didn't lose anyone else. Ben let that sit. Sometimes, Ben said softly, staying silent feels like control. Like if you don't speak, you don't make waves, but holding everything inside can hurt more in the long run. Luke blinked fast. He's going to think I'm stupid. No, Ben said firmly, he's confused, there's a difference. Luke swallowed. Why does everyone act like I'm broken? Because you're hurting, Ben corrected gently. And when people see someone hurting, they want to fix it. Sometimes they don't know how to just sit with it. Luke shifted in his seat. You said the judge wanted me in therapy. Ben nodded. Yeah, not because you're bad, because the judge saw how much this affected you. Courts don't just look at what happened, they look at what you need moving forward. Luke looked down. So this isn't punishment. No, Ben said, this is protection and healing. Luke was quiet for a long moment. What if I don't know what to say in there? Then you say that, Ben replied. You start with I don't know, that's enough. They pulled into the parking lot. Ben leaned down so Luke could see his face clearly. You don't have to like this, you just have to be honest. Luke took a shaky breath. Okay. And this time when Ben opened the car door, Luke didn't resist. Ben adjusted the tubing carefully and looked at Luke before doing anything. Luke, I'm turning on your feed right now because you didn't eat anything for breakfast. Luke gave a small nod. Yeah, I didn't mean to oversleep. Ben's voice stayed gentle. Hey, no, we had a hard night, don't worry and don't blame yourself. This wasn't an ED issue, this is a Ben overslept issue. Luke gave the smallest half smile. So you're admitting fault. Fully, Ben said lightly. Terrible caregiver, 1-star review. Luke huffed softly through his nose. Ben made sure everything was comfortable before starting the feed. We'll grab something with Mark later, okay? Something small and safe, no pressure. Luke looked down at his hands. I wasn't avoiding food. I know, Ben said immediately. That's why I'm not making it a big thing. Your body still needs fuel, especially on therapy days. Luke shifted slightly. It feels embarrassing sometimes. The tube, Ben asked gently. Luke nodded. Ben crouched down so they were eye level. Your body needed help, so we gave it help. That's not weakness, that's adapting. Luke was quiet for a second. You really don't think this is because I'm messed up? No, Ben said firmly but softly. Last night was heavy, you cried, you didn't sleep well. That's emotional exhaustion, not self-sabotage. Luke exhaled slowly as the feed began running. Ben checked the settings again, there, slow and steady. Luke leaned back in his chair. Thanks for not yelling. Ben gave him a look. Why would I yell? Luke shrugged. Luke, Ben said calmly, healing means we stop treating accidents like crimes. Luke let that settle in. Okay, he murmured. Ben squeezed his shoulder gently. We'll get through therapy, then we'll see Mark, one step at a time. And for once, Luke didn't argue with that. The office was quiet and calm, soft lighting, neutral walls, no pressure. Dr. John Seamph gave Luke a steady, patient look. Luke, how are you today? Luke let out a dry breath. Fine, other than the fact my parents are in jail because they exploited me, even though I stayed quiet because I wanted to, and my Uncle Mark wants me to explain why I never talked, and I'm dealing with an ED. He looked up at the therapist. So which one first? Dr. Seamph didn't rush him. That's a lot to carry, let's slow it down. When you say I wanted to stay quiet, what did staying quiet do for you? Luke shifted in his chair. It kept things calm. If I didn't say anything, nothing exploded. So silence felt safer than conflict, Dr. Seamph said gently. Luke nodded. And now? The doctor continued, the people who hurt you are facing consequences. That can feel confusing even if what they did was wrong. Luke's jaw tightened. It feels like I caused it. You didn't cause their choices, Dr. Seamph replied calmly. You survived them. Luke blinked hard. Dr. Seamph leaned back slightly. As for your uncle wanting answers, sometimes adults ask, why didn't you say anything, because they're trying to make sense of their own guilt. It doesn't mean you failed. Luke swallowed. I just didn't want to lose everyone. That makes sense, the therapist said. Kids and teens protect attachment even when it costs them. Luke stared at the floor. And the eating disorder, Dr. Seamph asked gently, does that feel separate or connected? Luke hesitated. Connected. How? Luke's voice got smaller. Food was the only thing I could control. Dr. Seamph nodded slowly. So when everything else felt chaotic, you controlled intake. Luke nodded once. That tells me something important, Dr. Seamph said. Your coping skills developed to keep you safe, they just aren't needed the same way anymore. Luke looked up. So I'm not crazy. No, Dr. Seamph said firmly. You adapted to survive. Therapy is about helping you build new ways to feel safe without hurting yourself in the process. Luke leaned back slightly. So which one first? The doctor asked again softly. Luke thought for a moment. The silence, he said, because that's the part everyone keeps asking about. Dr. Seamph gave a small nod. Okay, then we start there. And for the first time, Luke didn't feel like he had to defend himself in the room. He just had to talk. Dr. John Seamph stayed calm when Luke said it. Luke's voice was flat, but I didn't mind what was happening. Ben, my caregiver, and the judge made me come here. They said if I didn't, I could be arrested for racketeering like my parents. Dr. Seamph didn't react with shock, he reacted with steadiness. Okay, he said gently, let's separate a few things. Luke crossed his arms. It feels like I'm being punished. I hear that, Dr. Seamph replied. But therapy ordered by a court is not the same thing as being charged with a crime. The court's concern isn't punishment, it's protection and prevention. Luke frowned. Prevention of what? Of you being pulled back into something harmful, or being manipulated again, or feeling responsible for things adults chose to do. Luke looked away. You said you didn't mind what was happening, Dr. Seamph continued carefully. Sometimes when we're in survival mode, we numb ourselves, not minding can be a way of coping. Luke's jaw tightened. They said I could have been charged too. Were you directing the exploitation? Dr. Siemth asked calmly. Luke shook his head quickly. No. Were you the one organizing or profiting from it? No. Then that's important, Dr. Siemth said. The law recognizes differences between perpetrators and dependents, especially when coercion or family pressure is involved. Luke's shoulders dropped slightly. The judge likely required therapy because when someone grows up inside criminal behavior, the court wants to make sure they're supported, not recruited back into it. Luke was quiet. So this isn't about labeling you as guilty, Dr. Siemth said. It's about making sure you understand what was healthy and what wasn't so you don't carry misplaced loyalty or blame. Luke's voice got smaller. I still feel like I betrayed them. Dr. Siemth nodded slowly. That's loyalty trauma. Loving people who did harmful things creates internal conflict. You can love someone and still acknowledge they hurt you. Luke swallowed hard. And Ben, the therapist asked gently, what do you think his intention was? Luke hesitated. To protect me. Does that mean you have to like it? Luke shook his head. Good, Dr. Siemth said softly. You're allowed to feel frustrated. Therapy works better when we're honest about that. Luke leaned back, exhaling. So I'm not here because I'm a criminal. No, Dr. Siemth said firmly. You're here because you survived a criminal environment. That landed differently. Luke stared at the carpet for a moment. Okay, he said quietly. And for the first time, the word therapy didn't sound like a threat in his mind. Dr. John Siemth stayed very calm when Luke said that. Luke's voice was uneasy. I just knew about the money part. I have money in a bank account. I don't even know where it is or what bank. Dr. Siemth nodded slowly. Okay, first, thank you for saying that out loud. Luke looked nervous. Does that make me guilty? Not automatically, the doctor replied. Knowing money existed is different from controlling it, creating it, or understanding how it was obtained. Luke swallowed. I never opened it. I don't even have access. That's important, Dr. Siemth said. If you didn't set it up, didn't manage it, and didn't profit knowingly from illegal activity, that matters legally. Luke's shoulders were tense. What if it's dirty money? That's something your lawyer and the court would sort out, Dr. Siemth answered evenly. Not you alone. If the account exists, it's likely already on record in the investigation. Hidden accounts tied to exploitation are usually traced. Luke blinked. So I'm not hiding something by not knowing. No, Dr. Siemth said. If anything, your confusion suggests you weren't in control of it. Luke stared at the floor. I just didn't ask questions. Sometimes not asking questions is a survival skill, the therapist replied. When kids grow up around complicated or illegal behavior, they learn that curiosity can be dangerous. Luke nodded slowly. Here, what matters right now, Dr. Siemth continued. You told the truth in this room. That shows accountability, not criminal intent. Luke let out a breath he'd been holding. Do you feel scared about that account? Dr. Siemth asked. Yeah. Of getting in trouble. Luke nodded. Dr. Siemth leaned forward slightly. Fear of consequences doesn't equal guilt, it often equals uncertainty. Luke looked up. So what do I do? You let your legal team handle the financial investigation, and in here we focus on your emotional recovery. Those are two separate tracks. Luke was quiet for a moment. I didn't plan anything, he said quietly. I just existed in it. Dr. Siemth gave a small, affirming nod. That sounds like a dependent child in a criminal household, not a ringleader. That word seemed to hit Luke differently. He leaned back slowly. Okay, he whispered. And for once, the weight on his chest eased just a little. The office was quiet with just the soft hum of the heater in the background. Dr. John Siemth looked at Luke carefully. Luke, he said, do you mind if Ben comes in? I want to talk to both of you about something because he is your caregiver. Luke nodded slowly. Okay. Dr. John turned to the door. Ben, come in real quick. Ben opened the door and stepped inside. Okay, he said, keeping his tone calm. Dr. John gestured to the chairs. We'll just talk, but because Luke needs the food prepared for him by someone else sometimes, that's why Ben is here. Ben, Luke told me that everything plus his ED is connected. Ben nodded, I figured that. Dr. John leaned forward slightly. Luke needs help gaining some independence, and I know you've handled similar situations with Vin. I don't want another episode. Ben shifted in his seat. I'm trying not to go back there. I know, Dr. John said gently, but you two need to talk because you both have trauma. One causes it, the other deals with it. Ben, I'm not talking about your issues because I don't want to lose my job, but you both are healing and I believe that you were meant to meet again to help each other. Ben looked at Luke, then back at Dr. John. Thank you for that. Luke's hands twisted slightly in his lap. So we just talk. Yes, Dr. John said softly. You talk, you listen, and you support each other while respecting your limits. Healing isn't about fixing the past, it's about learning how to live with it safely. Ben nodded, I can do that. Luke exhaled slowly. Okay, I'll try. Dr. John smiled slightly. That's all anyone can ask, you don't have to be perfect, just honest. The room settled into a calm quiet. For the first time in a long while, Luke didn't feel cornered, he just felt supported. Ben gave his shoulder a gentle squeeze. We'll get through it, kiddo, together. Luke let a small, uncertain smile slip through. Yeah, together. Ben adjusted Luke's wheelchair gently as they prepared to leave. You still don't want to see your Uncle Mark? I can cancel if you want. Luke shook his head. No, let's go see Mark. I'm still nervous because I never got to talk with him just that night. I'm hoping he's not mad. Ben gave a reassuring nod. Luke, Mark isn't mad, he's just concerned, that's all. He's meeting us at McDonald's. Luke exhaled slowly, still fidgeting with his hands. I don't know what to say. You don't have to plan a speech, Ben said gently. Just be honest, tell him how you feel, that's enough. Luke glanced up at Ben. Even if I get emotional. Ben smiled softly. Especially if you get emotional, that's how people know it matters to you. Luke nodded, letting out a shaky breath. Okay, let's go. Ben pushed the wheelchair toward the car. Step by step, we'll see him, we'll talk, and then we'll get some food. No rush, no pressure. Luke took a deep breath. Thanks, Ben, for being here. Always, Ben said, always. The drive to McDonald's was quiet but calm, filled with the kind of tension that comes before something important, a mix of nerves and hope. And Luke realized for the first time in a long while he wasn't facing it alone. Ben stepped slightly away from the car, keeping his voice calm but firm. Mark, Ben said, Luke is scared right now. Mark looked at him, frowning slightly. Why? Ben gestured toward the wheelchair. Because of that night. Mark's expression softened immediately. I am not mad at him, I'm mad at my brother and his wife. Ben nodded. He's hurt because when you said, I don't know this family, it felt like he didn't matter. Mark ran a hand through his hair. I was shocked. I didn't know how to react. I wasn't thinking about him in that moment, I just froze. Ben glanced back at Luke in the car. I'll get him out of the car, let's do this gently. He opened the car door and leaned down to Luke. Hey, it's okay, Mark's not mad at you, he just got stuck in the moment, that's all. We're going to go see him and I'll be right here with you. Luke's hands trembled slightly on his lap. I hope he really means that. Ben gave a reassuring nod. He does, trust me, step by step we'll get through this together. Luke took a deep breath and Ben helped him out of the car. The air was crisp but Luke felt a small spark of courage knowing Ben was by his side. Mark crouched slightly to Luke's level, holding out his hands. Hey Luke, I'm really glad to see you, I'm not mad at you at all. Luke's lips trembled as he managed a small nod. Okay, I believe you. Ben stayed close, ready to support him as they prepared to bridge the gap that night had left behind. Luke gripped Ben's hand tightly, his voice trembling but firm. Mom wanted an image, he said, eyes flicking between Ben and Mark. Mark frowned, trying to understand. Why your dad put his foot down, or why didn't you say anything? Luke took a shaky breath, holding onto Ben for support. I just wanted to keep her image, keep the company, that's all. Mark's face softened, regret creeping in. I'm sorry for what I said that night. Luke's jaw tightened. Why? Because we were lying to everybody, even our own family. So yeah, you don't know the real us and I have a fucking ED because of it. Mark's eyes widened, guilt and understanding mixing. Luke, I didn't realize. Ben squeezed Luke's hand gently. It's okay to say it, Luke, he needs to hear it. Luke's shoulders shook slightly as he exhaled. I couldn't handle all the pretending. I thought if I kept quiet things would stay okay, but it wasn't okay, not for me. Mark nodded slowly, swallowing hard. I get it now, and I'm sorry for being part of that confusion, for not seeing it from your side. Luke looked at him, voice small but honest. I don't want apologies to fix it, I just want you to know why I am the way I am, the lying, the silence, the eating disorder, it's all connected. Mark's expression softened further. Thank you for telling me, Luke, I needed to hear that. Ben stayed beside him, steadying him, giving him the courage to finally speak everything out loud. For the first time, Luke felt like he could breathe, even if only a little. Ben held a small tray gently in front of Luke. Here, eat the chicken nuggets at least, then I'll turn your pump on. Luke looked down at the food, still tense. Mark leaned closer, his voice soft. Luke, this is because of everything that happened, isn't it? Luke's lips pressed together and then he nodded slightly. Yeah, this is the only thing that's true. Ben gave a small, reassuring nod. Exactly, nothing to hide here, just you getting what your body needs. Luke picked up a nugget slowly, his hands shaking a little. I just needed someone to see it. Mark nodded, swallowing hard. I see it now, Luke, I understand. Ben smiled softly. One bite at a time, okay, we don't rush anything. Luke took a careful bite, feeling a small sense of relief wash over him. For the first time in a long time, he could connect the truth of what happened to the support around him and not feel judged for it. Mark watched quietly, giving him space. You're not alone in this, he said. Luke exhaled slowly. I know, finally. Ben reached over, squeezing his shoulder gently. We'll handle the rest step by step, you're doing great. And for that moment, the weight of the past felt a little lighter. Mark leaned back slightly, frowning but listening carefully. Ben, why did you help him? Ben exhaled slowly, his voice steady but heavy. I did bad things to a guy because I got wrong information. I tried to apologize, but he wouldn't even talk to me. His dad helped me get out of jail so I could help Luke. They blackmailed me. Mark's eyes widened slightly. Ben continued, glancing at Luke before looking back at Mark. When you were trying to advise to help Luke talk, Pat and Aaron tried to blackmail me by calling my PO, so I took matters into my own hands. I did it because I wanted Luke to be safe. The judge, my PO, and my lawyer all talked and they agreed. If Luke is safe and either of us goes to therapy, we can stay out of jail. Mark exhaled slowly. So, Luke is your redemption arc. Ben gave a small, wry shrug. I won't put it like that, but yes. Luke, still holding Ben's hand, looked between them calmly. Not a problem for me, I don't have to worry if I can't talk anymore. Ben squeezed his shoulder gently. Exactly, you're not alone, and we're doing this the right way, step by step. Mark nodded, a small but understanding smile forming. I get it now, you're looking out for each other even through all the mistakes and chaos. Luke exhaled slowly, a little lighter than before. Yeah, and that's enough for me. Ben gave a reassuring squeeze. It's more than enough, and now we focus on healing, not blame. For a quiet moment, the three of them just sat there, connected by the truth, by accountability, and by the fragile beginnings of trust. Luke shifted slightly in his wheelchair, exhaustion and relief mixing on his face. We need to go home, Ben, I need a change. Ben gave a small nod, keeping his tone gentle. Don't worry, we're leaving anyway. Mark smiled softly. I can come over to your place and we can talk more there if you want. Luke's lips curved into a small, genuine smile. Thanks, Uncle Mark. Ben adjusted the wheelchair and pushed him toward the car. Step by step, Luke, home first, then we take it from there. Luke exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the day start to lift just a little. For the first time in a long while, going home didn't feel like going back, it felt like moving forward. Mark watched them with a quiet nod. I'll see you there, Luke, we'll figure this out together. Luke gave a small wave as the car doors closed. Okay, together. And as Ben drove, Luke leaned back, letting himself just be. Safe, supported, and finally allowed to breathe. Luke lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling while Ben quietly gathered gloves, a clean diaper, wipes, and a fresh pad. The routine was calm, practiced, not rushed, not clinical, just care. Luke's voice cracked. I just can't believe I was so stupid. I was manipulated by my parents and I actually believed I was going to jail. Ben pulled a chair closer so he was at eye level before starting. Luke, you're a young man, your parents controlled your world your whole life, that's not stupidity, that's conditioning. Luke swallowed hard. Ben continued softly, I saw it because I did something similar to Vin once. Not the same situation, but I let control replace listening. I know what it looks like. Luke blinked, but I'm not even mad at my parents. I know that makes no sense for what they did to me, but they're still my parents. Mark, standing near the doorway, spoke gently. It makes sense, you can still love them. That doesn't mean you excuse what they did, it just means they're your parents. Luke's hands clenched the blanket slightly. I still need reminders to do things like a kid. Ben gave him a steady look. Everybody needs reminders sometimes. Luke shook his head. Keywords sometimes. My parents did it all the time, every decision, every move, every word. Ben paused before continuing with care. When someone controls you constantly, your brain doesn't get practice making choices. That doesn't mean you're incapable, it means you're learning late. Luke stared at the wall, so I'm behind. No, Mark said firmly but kindly, you're recovering. Ben finished changing him with quiet dignity, making sure he was comfortable and clean before pulling the blanket up. Needing help right now doesn't erase your adulthood, Ben said. It just means we're rebuilding independence slowly. Therapy, honest conversations, small decisions. Luke's voice softened. What if I never catch up? Ben shook his head. Healing isn't a race, and you're already doing the hardest part, telling the truth. Mark stepped closer. You love your parents, that's human, but love doesn't require you to live in their shadow. Luke blinked back tears. I don't want to hate them. You don't have to, Ben replied, you just have to protect yourself. The room went quiet for a moment. Luke looked between them, so I'm not stupid. Ben's voice was steady. No, you were shaped by your environment, now you get to shape yourself. Mark nodded, and will help not control help. Luke settled deeper into the pillow, the tension easing just a little. Okay, he whispered. And for the first time that day, he didn't feel small. He felt supported. Ben checked Luke's forehead gently and adjusted the blanket. Luke, no pump tonight. Luke looked up confused. I don't need it anymore. Ben shook his head softly. You've got diarrhea, so I want your stomach to rest. No PT, no extra strain, nothing for right now. Maybe the chicken nuggets were just a little too much after everything today. Luke groaned slightly. Great, of course. Mark gave a small, sympathetic smile from the chair. Big emotional days can mess with your stomach too. Ben nodded. Exactly. Stress hits the body, will hydrate you, keep things light, and see how you feel in the morning. Luke shifted under the covers. I feel stupid, first therapy then talking to Mark, now this. Ben sat on the edge of the bed. Your body had a long day, that's not stupidity, that's overload. Luke looked at him, so I'm not in trouble. Ben's expression softened immediately. Luke, you're sick, not in trouble. Mark added gently, you did something brave today. Sometimes the body crashes after bravery. Luke let out a small breath of relief. I just want to rest. That's the plan, Ben said. Rest, fluids, no pressure tonight. Luke nodded and closed his eyes, feeling the exhaustion finally take over. For once there were no lectures, no demands. Just quiet care. Mark stood near the doorway, jacket in hand. Luke, Ben, I need to go now, he said gently. Then he looked at Luke more directly. And Luke, don't go quiet on me again. Luke gave a small but sincere nod. Never. Mark gave him one last reassuring look before stepping out, the door closing softly behind him. The room felt quieter now. Luke stared at the ceiling for a moment. I don't know why, but I still feel like I'm talking too much. Ben adjusted the blanket around him. That'll go away. Luke frowned slightly. You sure? Yeah, Ben said calmly. When you've been told to stay quiet for years, using your voice feels loud, but it's not, it's just new. Luke let that sink in. Ben. Yes. Thanks for saving me from my parents. Ben paused for a second before answering. No problem, but you saved yourself too, you finally spoke. Luke's eyes grew heavy. Now get some sleep, Ben said softly. Luke nodded once, closing his eyes. For the first time in a long while, silence didn't feel like fear. It felt like peace.